What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Week 12 preview. Josh and I are going to sit here and roll through all these games. And did you want to talk about the Thanksgiving games just to give it a whirl real quick?
Just the Cowboys game was ridiculous. I'll start off with that one.
That was – so everybody's saying 28 penalties. Those were the accepted penalties. There was like at least 3 or 4 that weren't accepted. So it was well over 30 at least 30, plus penalties in that game, which was ridiculous. The pass interferences to me were just egregious. A couple of them were pass interference, but there was at least one that was egregious. The other one I felt was pretty ticky-tack as well. Deshaun Jackson did a pretty good job of drawing it, I think more so than it was actually PI. But, yeah, that was really annoying because, the Cowboys were penalized for almost 200 yards in that game. It's
absolutely incredible and ugly at the same time.
We were like having a blast just messing around about it. We were just sitting there like after every play would be like flag, and half the time we were right.
Yeah,
it was wild. Think about it. Like each team runs generally in an NFL game 60-ish plays, and 30 of those. 30 plays of a possible, let's just say 120 total plays were flagged. And that's it. Very bad. It's one every 4 plays. So
yeah, it was a super ugly game. The Cowboys obviously came out with a loss in that one in overtime.
I was completely shocked about that. Because even with all that, the Cowboys should have manhandled the Raiders.
Yeah, Dak threw for 375 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And that's the crazy thing is they also got a kick return touchdown. And the Raiders going into that game were like one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. That's why we were predicting Joe Mixon to go crazy on them last week. And it was just a not a good game. The Raiders came out in desperation mode. Deshaun Jackson played like he was 10 years younger.
Yeah, he did.
And
I don't understand. He's like all of a sudden the best player on the Raiders, but he was one of the worst on the Rams. That's why they got rid of him.
Well, he was like a good situational player on the Rams, but yeah.
But he wanted to be this.
Yeah.
That's why he left.
I guess he's looking at it like, hey, I know I can still play at a high level. And
yeah,
I guess he can.
Hunter Renfrow 8 for 134 in this one. Went nuts.
He's a really good player, man. He's not just a – what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
He's not just a good, slot receiver. He's a legitimate receiver. He's a real weapon. He'll get paid $10 million a year when he resigns.
His route running is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's next level.
And to be honest, when he gets paid his $10 million annually every year for however long of a deal it is, it'll probably be, when you just look at production for receivers, it'll probably be a pretty good value because good receivers are going for $20 million now, like elite guys are. So, anyways, but disappointing game for the Cowboys. Huge win for the Raiders. They're back in the hunt of it. in the AFC, and
talk about another disappointing loss.
The Detroit Lions. They find a way, don't they?
Yeah.
They find a way.
Find a way to give it away.
It's super disappointing because I really thought they were going to win that game, and they should have.
They should have definitely won that game.
And that was without DeAndre Swift. He went out pretty early in that game.
Yeah, he did.
And he caught the first 3 passes of the game. So it was like he was going to be heavily involved, and he went out. And I just the time management usage by the Lions late was really tough to watch because I love Dan Campbell, but not only did he have to burn one timeout because of whatever it was the issue they had on the field, or like how many men they had out there or whatever, but he also tried to burn another one, and he got lucky that the Bears called it before.
Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking.
That's literally the ball game. And then you give up the third down. Now they can just take a couple knees and kick a chip shot field goal to beat you. So,
I was hoping they would freaking throw David Montgomery in there for a little 3-yarder.
Right. But they knew that was the Lions' only chance to have a response drive to that. But
Andy Dalton played well.
Yeah, he played really well.
Yeah,
he did. He played well, but he still he scored 16 points. So it wasn't like
he threw. But he had a game.
They didn't do anything running the ball at all in that game. I'm telling you, dude, Matt Nagy really wanted to play Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I've never seen he did. Does he play him next week?
Oh, he wants to. He might. Here's the thing. He might be able to do it, but the second he loses, he might get fired because they're probably not with that. The ownership does not want that.
Right.
Fans don't want that. And I think Matt Nagy's looking at it like, hey, we are – what are they, 4-7 now? They had lost 5 straight before that one. I think he's looking at it like if we win out, we might be able to make the playoffs in the NFC. So he's looking at it like that's the only way I keep my job. And so he thinks Dalton's a better player. He wants to play Dalton. I don't know that he's wrong in that. However, he's extremely he was patting Andy Dalton on the back almost every time he would run to the sidelines. It was just, you can tell he's just so happy that Andy was in there. And so
we got the W for him.
Yeah,
man, the Lions. It's not much to say. It's tough. Yeah. 0-10-1. Jared Goff is now 0-15-1 without Sean McVay.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty wild.
It is.
It is what it is, though. I don't know if that's just a random, weird stat.
You could put a lot of quarterbacks in that starting lineup for the Lions this year, and they're going to lose most of their games. They just don't have a ton in the way of talent, to throw to specifically. I mean, they lost Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones last year. This year. So it was the first year without them. New system. They don't have anybody that you would consider even a number 2 receiver. Almost they got the 4th round rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown out there playing. He might be their best receiver. You know what I mean? It's not pretty. So that's why DeAndre Swift is so important. And I think he's leading their team in receptions and stuff this year. So that was a huge loss for them. And I just wanted them to get the win in Detroit on Thanksgiving. Really get that. Because the players, the one thing I respect about them and how I know Dan Campbell has that locker room intact is that they are competing their asses off at 0-10-1. They're out there high energy. They're very they're competitive, and they've been competitive in a lot of their games. Just teams like this have to learn how to win, and every team when they rebuild, they're in this position. The Bills were in it just a few years ago. The Bengals were in it last year and years before. Yep. So they'll be okay. I think they just need to get some talent around them, and they need to be better at managing the clock. That's why a lot of times these first-time head coaches are going to have these slower starts because they don't know how to do this stuff until they have experience.
Yeah, trial and error.
Yep. So, and then, of course, the Bills destroyed the Saints.
Yeah,
that was
did.
that. That's pretty much self-explanatory. Trevor Simeon's not the guy. I want to see Ian Book. I saw Jim Nagy tweeted that out. I want to see Ian Book get an opportunity because why not at this point?
Yeah. They were just terrible all night.
That was just a massacre.
Bills. Josh Allen threw 2 picks in this one, but one of them was tipped. I think they were both tipped. No,
one was tipped.
The second one, yeah. But yeah, he still threw for 4 touchdowns, 260 yards.
Yeah, it was one of those things where eventually he started to wear them down just because they would just get the ball right back. And Sean Payton, to his credit, was going for it on 4th down, was trying to fake punts and stuff like that. He was trying to do anything he could to steal some possessions to keep it close and all that stuff, but it just ultimately did not pan out.
The Bills feasted on Thanksgiving.
Yes, they did. All right, let's talk about the Sunday games. Bucks Colts.
Let's do it.
Tampa, 3-point favorites.
Game.
Yeah, it is. It's in Indianapolis. Tampa's a 3-point favorite. Over-under's 53. So we've got and I think the obvious and most intriguing aspect of this matchup is the Tampa Bay's got the top-ranked run defense, and they'll be playing Jonathan Taylor, and he's the leading rusher in the NFL, and he's also been going completely insane.
Well, what do you think he does
or so
against the Bucks?
I think he has a pretty good game. I don't think he can do what he's been doing against them. He's averaging over 150 yards a game, from scrimmage. And so I think that maybe they'll need to ask a little bit more of Carson Wentz in this one. But I think he'll have at least 70 yards rushing, and probably right around 4 yards a carry, I would assume. Tampa's averaging they're the best run defense in the NFL on the season, but they're only 14th over the last 3 weeks. They're allowing over 100 yards a game on the ground. So, I think they're you can have success. We saw Antonio Gibson only average 3 yards a carry in that game, but he played pretty well in terms of just wearing them down at a certain point. I think the Colts need to make sure that they don't do what the team like the Cowboys did when they had all their receivers healthy and try to just pass on them, because you can't. That's when the Bucs really get it together and have success defensively. But so I think Taylor's definitely the key to this game in terms of they will only be successful if he's at least getting the ball.
Yeah.
Their offense runs through him. The Tom Brady, so most touchdown passes in the NFL this year with 29. He has 8 picks on the season, but 5 over the last 3 weeks, so over his last 3 games. So he's been throwing some interceptions lately, and the Colts last week. Was that last week that they beat up on the Bills? I think it was last
Mm-hmm.
week, and they dominated Buffalo, forced some interceptions in that one. So the Colts defense is pretty good. They're allowing just 6.1 yards a pass attempt over the last 3 games, and so that's, to me, is a little bit of an interesting matchup as well. I don't know if I think Tampa's going to need to be a little bit more balanced, because I feel like if you get too one-dimensional against Indy, their defense, even though they haven't been great on the season, they are a defense that can give any offense trouble if you get one-dimensional like they did to Buffalo last week. So, and then Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions this year.
Wow.
He's been pretty good.
Pretty efficient, if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't think he's thrown an interception in like 6 games. But he is not averaging, what is he, like 7 yards a pass attempt, which is about, somewhere around 20th in the NFL. And the Bucs' pass defense lately has been good, just allowing 5.3 yards an attempt passing against them over the last 3 games. So from that, and then just 6.2 yards per attempt on the season. So they were, early on, they were giving up a ton of yards through the air. They haven't been that bad lately. They've been actually pretty good. So I think that Wentz is going to have to, as I mentioned, he's going to have to make more plays than he normally does, because Taylor may not be there all day, at least consistently. And so I think that part of it is important. I think Tampa matches up pretty well with them in terms of their secondary against the Colts receiver room. But it's just hard for me to go against the Colts, but it's also hard for me to pick against the Bucs, because Indy's won 5 of 6, I think it is, right? Either 4 or 5 or 5 or 6, something like that, and they're red hot. But Tampa, coming off that win last week, even though they stumbled before that, they had 2 straight losses. I just feel like Tampa's going to eke out a close game here. That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close. It being on the road, reading here, it looks like Antonio Brown, fingers crossed that he's back this week.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, that it's good news for the Bucs.
Yeah.
I think they get the W in this one.
Yeah, I think they win a close game, something like 27-24 or something like that.
Yeah. I'm taking the Bucs.
So that would be, if it was 27-24, that would be the under, and it would be a push as far as like Tampa covering or not covering. So,
yeah, I think, and for fantasy purposes, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they will dominate the targets. So.
Yeah, especially if AB's out,
Yeah.
because that's what Godwin, for me, I have him, and he's just been so consistent, it's because when Antonio Brown has been out, especially because he's been just like, basically you can guarantee, 6 for 60, essentially, and a touchdown every other game, or even in some games, multiple touchdowns. But Jonathan Taylor, of course, fantasy-wise, coming off that 55.4 points. Oh, God, that was crazy. But,
yeah,
maybe I'm low on the over-under in this game, because the Colts have scored over 40 in 2 of their previous 3 games. They've been able to put up points. They scored 31 in a loss before that, 30 the week before that, 31 the week before.
So Bucs 34-30.
That changes it to Tampa Bay covering the 3.
Yeah.
I think 34-31 is my. If I'm changing it, I'm going to 34-31. But yeah, so I think we both agree Tampa's going to win a close game. It's kind of the gist of that one, and I think that it's tough to predict anything other than that, because they match up pretty damn well with Indy. It could be a bigger win, to be honest, but I think that because Indy's so hot, I'm giving them that much.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a barn burner, especially for the 12 o'clock games.
It's not going to be a barn burner. It's the Jets-Texans.
Yeah, far from. If I had to put my money on that, you got a prop bet for that in Vegas?
Oh my God, I'm
Jets
sure.
Texans barn burner.
Yeah, what would qualify as a barn burner? But the Texans last week beat up on the Titans, so that's interesting. That right there is, I think, the sole reason.
Another shocking loss this year in the NFL.
Yeah, I know there have been a few, but the Texans are 2.5-point favorites. I think because of that, in large part. Over under in this one is 44.5. Both teams 2-8. So. I think it's potentially a classic letdown spot for the Texans after, a win that nobody saw coming. They beat the hottest team in football last week.
Is Zach Wilson's back this week?
I thought he was not playing. Is he back?
Yeah.
It's official?
Jets rookie QB Zach Wilson returns after missing the last 4 games with a sprained ligament in his right knee to face a defense that is tied a franchise record with 4 interceptions last week.
Yeah, they've got 5 takeaways in each of the last 2 games.
Yeah, they've been going nuts.
Crazy. So if Zach Wilson's back, a guy that if you were to look at the ratio of interceptions thrown per pass attempt or whatever, Zach Wilson would be pretty high on that list, especially with those games against the Patriots. And yeah, man, the Texans, the way they finished the last quarter of their last game has to be concerning if you're a Jet fan, considering that Zach Wilson has thrown picks, right? He's a guy that, that's been his one major issue this season. And Joe Flacco was actually decent last week. He was threw for 291, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he was blitzed on 22 of his. He only attempted 39 passes, was blitzed 22 times. So he was able to deal with that relatively well, just being the veteran that he is. And so Houston's not going to blitz them as much, though. Last week, Houston only blitzed 12 times on Tannehill's 52 pass attempts. So that's not a ton in terms of like what the Jets were facing last week. So I think Michael Carter not being there is going to be a big deal. Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson are averaging 3.6 yards a carry on the season, which isn't – Michael Carter wasn't much better, but I just feel like he was a much better player overall. And so not having him on an already limited offense is going to be tough, especially in Zach Wilson's return game. But I mean, what do you think for this game? I think it's hard to go against the Texans.
Yeah, I think they have the edge in this one for sure.
Yeah,
especially at home.
I think that their defense is quietly decent.
I mean, Tyrod Taylor could come out and have a great game.
Yeah,
he's just wishy-washy. You know what I mean?
I think that it's likely that he outplays Zach Wilson tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely put money on that, 100%.
Yeah. Although, if there was ever a time for a get-right rookie year game from Zach Wilson, it might be this one, considering he's been able to sit and watch for a few weeks now. He's been able to, like, a lot of times with rookies, you're in there, things are moving so fast, and you're making a lot of mistakes. Then you can, if you have an opportunity to sit down and watch for a couple weeks, it can help you, especially watch a guy like Flacco, who's a veteran in this game and knows what he's doing and stuff like that. So, but yeah, man, Zach Wilson, 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on the season. It's not been a glamorous year for him as a rookie. I mean, none of the rookie quarterbacks other than Mac Jones really have had, a great rookie season. So, I saw, speaking of that real quick, I saw Shannon Sharp. I didn't even watch the video, but I saw that he said the 49ers made a huge mistake not drafting Mac Jones over Trey Lance. And it's like, dude, you haven't even seen Trey Lance play. Like, what? Yeah, well,
he's just basing solely all of that on what he sees in the development of Mac Jones.
That's absurd. Because what if Trey Lance becomes Patrick Mahomes, those 50 touchdowns next year? You still going to say that? No, of course you're not.
No,
that's what I'm saying. You don't. The guy was drafted 3rd overall. The Niners traded up to get him. They're expecting him to have a Mahomes type impact. So you say, and I mean, maybe not exactly, but the point is they're expecting that kind of a guy. They weren't trading up to get Mac Jones. Even with knowing what Mac Jones has done this year, that's not what they were trading up for. They were trading up for something better, something that was dominant. Mac Jones has been good, but he has not been great.
Yeah.
He's been solid. He's been better than Tua. I think it's safe to say he's a better quarterback than Tua. But point is, he hasn't been – you wouldn't confuse him for Patrick Mahomes is all I'm saying. But anyways, I'll take the Texans in this game, man. I think ultimately Zach Wilson, although I think it could be a good game for him, I think that I need to see it before I'm picking the Jets. I wouldn't recommend betting on this game because I just think it could really go either way. I'm about 55% Houston, versus 45 Jets. So I'll take the Texans to win a 23-20 game.
Well, it looks like here Flacco and Mike White are both on the COVID list, so they won't be in this game.
So they don't even have a backup. Oh, my God.
Imagine so it's just Zach Wilson without Michael Carter. Elijah Moore is probably only going to be their only bright spot. Yeah. I'm starting him in a flex. And
you have to at this point.
Yeah, Corey
Davis.
Davis.
Crowder's
Corey Davis is held out of practice yesterday, so it's not looking good for the Jets. So, on that, I'm taking Texans 17-13.
It's a low-scoring
slugfest.
I feel it. All right. Eagles at Giants. So Philly is a 3.5-point favorite over under 45.5. Last night when the Cowboys lost, the Eagles are sitting there like, whoa, we really have maybe the division door just open, because Philly, if they win, would then be, I think, 2 games behind Dallas. And that would be, it's a weird 2 games because I think Dallas is 7-4 now? I think they're 7-4.
Yeah.
And so Philly is 5-6, but if they win, they're 6-6. So yeah, they'd be, is that 2? Yeah, it's 2. Because, anyways, they'd be 2 games behind the Cowboys, and they play Dallas once more this year in Philly. So it's really, if you think about it like that, they're basically a game behind them, because I think that if they win enough games in their division to equal what the Cowboys win by the end of the year, they will have a good amount of division wins. They will have swept the Washington football team, swept the Giants, I believe. And so that part of it to me is I think Philly would win the division if they could.
Yeah, I mean they have a great chance to win this game. They've obviously they've been dedicated to running the ball now.
Dude, they ran 50 times last week.
Yeah, they probably are running the most out of any team in the NFL right now.
They are.
And it obviously doesn't bode well for the Giants because in fantasy they're giving up the 5th most points to the RB position. So it could be a long day at the office for them.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, man, he hasn't even averaged 7 yards per pass attempt in a game over the previous 5 games in a row.
And they did just fire Jason Garrett,
which might be a huge benefit.
Which might help.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be tough, especially if the run game gets going. Jalen Hurts gets going. Our boy Devontae Smith gets going. It's going to be a long day at the office for the Giants. Now, Saquon Barkley is also back in this one.
He was back last week. He didn't do shit.
Yeah, I know, but he's just another week healthier.
Yeah.
So, it could be he could potentially have a great game. I feel like the offense is really going to rely on him to set the tone with the run game, because you know how the run game opens up the rest of the passing game.
Oh, of course.
Which the Giants need desperately right now. So I'm still taking Philly in this one. I think they do get the run game going. I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be a high-scoring, close one.
High-scoring game, huh?
Yeah. I mean, because I know the Eagles are going to be scoring. I can almost bet
they've scored 30 or more in 3 of their last 4 and 40 plus in 2 times. So.
Yeah, so if they get ahead up on the Giants are going to have to come back from behind. Saquon Barkley is probably going to have 10 catches out of the backfield.
Yeah.
I'm predicting Eagles 28, Giants 27.
Yeah, the problem with that prediction is I think that might be close to the Giants' season high in terms of points, because they just don't. They're going
to open up. I think they're going to open up the playbook a lot more now that Jason Garrett's gone. They're going to try new things and kind of get more creative this week.
Yeah, that's possible. That would be tied for their second highest point total of the season. Back in week 2, they scored 29 in a loss to Washington.
And it's at home, so it's a good spot for them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely
take an L, but
I've been the biggest supporter of the Giants, but at this point, I'm just like, man, it's
almost
hard
giving
to
too
pick.
much.
It's hard to pick. It's hard to expect anything great out of them, and I think at this point, scoring 27 points would be great because the Eagles have been pretty good on the defensive side of the ball. And New York just hasn't been able to score. Plus, Jalen Hurts is not going to give you many. I mean, he's thrown 1 interception over the last 5 games. He's not turning the ball over very often. And again, they're not asking him to do a ton. They're asking him to throw it 20 times, 25 times, maybe 30 at the absolute most. And that's basically what it's been the last month and a half or so. And so I do think that Jason Garrett being fired is actually the biggest potential boost for that Giants offense, because when somebody gets fired, they oftentimes it sets a tone to like, hey, we all better get our shit together. From the head coach on down to the players, because we may be next. That's how everybody's thinking. Because I've seen Dave Gettleman cut players in the middle of the season, and Dave Gettleman himself is on the hot seat. So at this point, I think I think the talent's there, but I'm not super optimistic right now with the Giants. I still think they'll finish relatively strong. I just don't know when that'll start. And so I'm taking the Eagles to win this game 24-21. I got Philly. What was the line in this one? So Philly is a
3.5 point favorite?
Yeah, over-under's 45.5. So I guess I like the under, but I'm not. I mean, that's by a half a point, so I'm definitely not any type of strong conviction on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we both like Philly, and I don't think there's any way we could choose New York.
Nope.
All right, my Panthers, 5-6 Panthers at the 4-7 Dolphins. Carolina is a 2-point road favorite. Over-under's 42. The thing that first sticks out to me is we're a 2-point favorite against a team that's won 3 straight games and only allowed 12 points per game over those 3 games. So their defense is playing really well. They have the most sacks in the NFL over those 3 games, too, 11 sacks. And Carolina, pass protection-wise, is not a great offensive line, right? That's something that, is not great. So I think that they must, if you're the Panthers, and I've been saying it all week, you must run and you must let Cam run to counter that blitz because Miami's going to blitz. And the reason they're going to blitz mainly is because they know they can get home relatively quickly, and they know that they've invested quite a bit of money into their back end, and they should be able to hold up in man coverage while they get home. So that part of it to me is going to be very, very important for Carolina. And, by the way, running with the quarterback is no easy task because they actually held Lamar to his second fewest yards per carry on the season in just 9 attempts for 39 yards in that game. So if they'll blitz Lamar like that, they will absolutely blitz Cam Newton. And, so that part of it to me is concerning. I will say on the Miami offensive side of the ball, it's equally as concerning because the Panthers get after quarterbacks. They have the 5th most sacks on the season. Although Tua's been good, he's only being sacked 1 every 25 attempts, so that's solid. But Miami is going to have no running game again. They're 31st on the season, averaging just 77.4 yards per game on the ground. So it's going to be Tua having to throw the ball,
Yeah, which is going to be tough because Carolina's got a good secondary.
Yep, I agree. But I'm taking the Panthers, man. I just think that I don't see Cam coming back and injecting this much life into a team and then them just dropping their first 2 games that he starts.
He's another week into the offense. He's learning more. They're going to get another team that's probably going to get more creative this week.
Yep. And I think
try some things out with Cam.
I just trust Cam to score more than Tua because both matchups for each offense are not great. I think it's going to be like a 20-17 win for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Not a lot of points. I think so. Like that would be the under. I think Vegas is right with the over/under being set at 42 because I think that's a pretty low scoring. It's 21 points for each team essentially, right? I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. So
I'm taking Panthers obviously 28-21.
For me, it's not as obvious, but I get it. Like it, just Miami's won 3 straight, and I'm not.
Yeah, they have.
They're a little bit more dangerous, I think, than maybe we would initially think. So Titans Patriots. I can't wait to talk about this one because this is crazy. The Titans right now are the 1 seed in the AFC. They're 7-point underdogs in New England. The over/under is 43.5. Okay, so if the Patriots win this game, they will overtake the Titans as potentially the 1 seed, but they'll at least be the 2 seed with a win. And man, the Patriots the last few weeks, dude, have been, as we know, unreal. But let me just give you some stats to really contextualize that. They lead the league in points scored and points per game allowed, and points per game scored over the last 3 weeks. They're averaging over 31 a game, and they're allowing 4.3 points per game. They'll have 13 points they've allowed in the last 3 games. That's ridiculous. They also, and this is where I got to give Mac Jones some love, and the fact that running the ball most certainly helps a passing game because the Patriots are defensively, they're allowing the fewest yards per pass attempt over the last 3 games, just 4.1 yards an attempt. And Mac Jones is averaging a league best 9 yards per pass attempt over the last 3 weeks. So over their last 3 games, I should say. When you look at that, you're averaging more than double of the yards per pass attempt that your opponent is averaging. You're you're scoring 27 almost more points per game. Like they've been dismantling teams. And by the way, Ryan Tannehill leads the NFL in interceptions. The Patriots have the most interceptions.
Yeah, that's not a good matchup.
It's not a good matchup in any way.
For that cause.
Yeah. But still, Tennessee has won 6 of the last 7. They're the number 1 seed, and they're still 7-point underdogs. That part is crazy. By the way, Ryan Tannehill without Derrick Henry averaging 6.4 yards an attempt, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. You know, it's not been pretty without Henry.
No,
there.
It hasn't, and I think it's only going to continue to get worse. I mean, they brought up Damon Hilliard, who had a great game last week. So who knows? This guy just came off a practice squad and had that game.
They cut AP.
Yeah, they did. They were like, this guy is, worth a shot. So if he gets going, then they might have a chance.
Yeah. I mean, they have a chance. I think that the 7 points is a stretch, in my opinion. I think that's a pretty outrage, like just for the odds to be that, because I was thinking like, oh yeah, bet the Patriots in this game, but then it's like, dude, -7? Can you take them? How confident would you be to bet them -7? That just seems like a lot, right?
Because you would think, but the Patriots are playing super well right now, and the Titans are kind of free falling.
Well, they only lost 1 game. They won their previous 6.
I saw that, but I mean, if you look at the way they played and how
it was ugly against Houston,
it was.
I'll give you that.
And they scored they had like 400, like we said last week, 490 yards to Texans 190 or some crazy shit like that. But they beat themselves up with turnovers and mistakes.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots in this one. They're just surging right now. We've already said it before.
Yeah, they're dominating.
Yeah, Mac Jones has been going nuts since they lost to the Cowboys. And I'm going to predict that they win this one 28-17.
28-17. So you do like them to cover?
Yes, I do. I think they're going to come out and cover the spread in this one because, like I said, they're playing extremely well right now. Yeah,
Tennessee is playing actually. This is the reason why I think it's also more interesting than it might appear, because their defense is playing well. Remember they did to Matthew Stafford in L.A. They just completely dominated that game defensively. Yeah. I mean, Tannehill was winning games without Henry, and it was like throwing for 100 yards and stuff, 140, whatever. But when it comes down to it, with all the stats I just read off, right, like, and there's more, I'm just not even going to get into them, but the Patriots I just think are such a bad matchup for Tennessee that I think that I don't want to disrespect Tennessee and Vrabel too much, because I definitely think they're a dangerous team at all times. But ultimately, I think New England wins it 27-17. Is that what you predicted?
28.
Okay. Well, so we both like them to cover, and I think we both like the over.
Yeah, it's 44.
Yeah. So I saw that 43.5, but I guess it's trending a little bit up. I just think it's going to be tough for Tannehill to manufacture points at the end of the day. All right, Steelers at the Bengals. 5-4-1 Steelers at the 6-4 Bengals.
Divisional game. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, Cincy's a 4-point favorite, over under 45. Remember, Cincinnati dominated the first meeting between these two teams in Pittsburgh, 24-10, but it wasn't even that close. It was just it was never in doubt. It was pretty much just an easy win. In that game, Burrow only attempted 18 passes. He averaged he was 14 of 18. Averaged 9.5 yards an attempt, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. So it was and Ben Roethlisberger was the complete opposite in that game. He attempted 40 more passes than Burrow. He was 38 of 58 for 318, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, averaged like 5.5 yards an attempt, was sacked 4 times. They get TJ Watt and Minka back this week, though, on the defensive side of the ball for Pittsburgh. So I think that part of it is going to be interesting. But where I'm most interested in this, right, is that I don't think the Bengals defense is going to dominate the Steelers the way they did in that first one. And the reason is because the Steelers have become a balanced team.
Yeah.
And Roethlisberger hasn't been throwing a lot of interceptions, just 4 on the season. So he's only averaging 6.6 yards an attempt.
And he had a fluky interception last week.
Yeah. So I think that from that standpoint, if they get Najee Harris involved, they're getting TJ Watt and Minka back. And by the way, I mentioned Ryan Tannehill leading the NFL in interceptions. Joe Burrow's up there. He's thrown 11.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh hasn't intercepted very many on the defensive side of the ball, but we know they're always dangerous in that way. So Joe Mixon's going to be an important part to this game. He's had 7 touchdowns over his last 4 games. So they need him, in my opinion, I think, to remain balanced and to, don't ask too much from Burrow.
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
For Cincy. Who do you like in this one?
I like the Bengals in this one. I know it's going to be a dogfight. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's going to be a much more competitive game. And ultimately, I like Pittsburgh to steal it, man.
Wow.
I like them to steal it 20-17. I think that they go in there and they play mistake-free ball. I just don't think they're going to get swept by the Bengals, do you think?
Yeah. On their home field.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I know. I guess
it's in Cincy.
in Cincy. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bengals in this one. I think Joe Mixon gets going. I mean,
he's been doing it, especially the last 2 weeks.
The Steelers are kind of slumping right now. They've lost. They had a horrible tie. Yeah. So, obviously Najee Harris is going to eat like he always does, whether it's on the ground or through the air. But I'm taking the Bengals 27-24. I think it's a close one. But ultimately, I think the Bengals come out on top.
Who would you take as a running back right now, Najee Harris or Joe Mixon? Just don't factor in age or anything. Who would you rather have? Not fantasy, just
Najee Harris.
Wow. You think he's a better?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Najee only carried the ball 12 times last week, by the way, which I just gave them credit for being a more balanced team. But they showed that game flow can push them out of sorts. But he had over 20 carries in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight weeks
before
before
that.
that.
Had less than half the carries last week than he has in most of his games this year.
Yeah, he essentially, or at least than he has over the previous 5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think the Steelers are going to steal it. I just think every time we underestimate them, we think like,
So you think the Steelers are going to steal it?
I do. Yeah, I said it. I think they're going to win 20-17. It's going to be a defensive struggle. I just think Burrow makes one more mistake than Ben makes, and the Steelers capitalize and get the game-winning field goal at some point. And,
so basically, if it's coming down to whoever has the ball last kind of thing, and you think the Steelers will, or
I think it's going to come down to whoever makes the more critical mistake and win. And in the last one.
Yeah.
So I think Burrow maybe will do that. And by the way, Jamar Chase has cooled off significantly, hasn't he?
Well, he had a touchdown last week, but he only had like 3 receptions. So
yeah, but I mean, he's definitely cooled off compared to what he was doing, right?
He's going to heat back up this week because I need him to go nuts.
He's had fewer than 50 yards in 3 straight games. So
yeah, I would say that's cooling off a bit.
Before that, he had more than 50 in every game. So
right, so he's due, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he could be due. Did you buy high on him? Is that why
No,
okay.
I gave up James White and Chenault for him early.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's not buying high. Not at all.
No. And then, James White had a excruciating hip injury that same week.
Oh,
so
yeah,
he's up
tough.
for the season. But yeah.
So I like Steelers, you like the Bengals.
Bengals.
And I like the under. And what'd you say the score was?
27-24.
Okay, so you like the over. That seems to be always the case. And it seems to be the overs more often hitting than the under, but I don't know. I'm stubborn, I guess. All right, Falcons, Jaguars. 4-6 Falcons, 2-8 Jags. Falcons are 2-point favorites. Over under this one's 46. And the Falcons have been absolutely dismantled
the
last 2 weeks. 68-3 combined.
I mean, way to
scores.
pick a tight end for number 4 overall, and it's really helping your team out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not because that would be incredibly difficult for him to do, especially at least as a rookie. And so I think that the first thing I wrote down in this game is I think they're obligated to be the favorites with their record.
Yeah, of course.
It scares me.
Yeah, it definitely scares me. I don't know. The Falcons are playing like shit right now.
68-3 last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I don't know. The Jags are 2-8.
But they've been competitive.
Yeah, they have.
They've never been rolled over like the Falcons have been.
Then again, it comes down to the development of Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that part I'm not thrilled about.
Yeah, I know. And it's like you want to see him get better, and you think he's going to get better week in and week out. But it's like at this point, it's not going as fast as obviously everyone thought it would be with him being the number 1 overall pick. But I mean,
there are people watching this right now just jumping out of their chair saying it's Urban Meyer's fault.
Yeah. Well, It could be his fault. It could be just Trevor's fault. You don't know yet. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Trevor, there's a positive. No interceptions in his last 3 games. That's good. Matt Ryan has 4 picks in the last 2, and 0 touchdowns. But Trevor also hasn't thrown a touchdown in his last 3 games. So, that, and he hasn't even ran for a touchdown. He's not running the ball enough, and it's like almost every game. And so he hasn't averaged 7 yards a pass attempt in 4 consecutive games. So that's, he's not been very good. But he also has played Seattle, Buffalo, Indianapolis, and San Francisco. So it's not been, the easiest stretch for him. But they've scored 17 or fewer points in each of the last 4 games as well. So it's tough to win when you can't crack 20 points,
Yeah, they were completely shut out last week.
Yeah, but as I mentioned, the Falcons have been outscored 68-3 last 2 weeks, and I'm taking the Jaguars, man. I'm taking them to win. I've been critical of Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's, the best quarterback in the class, and I didn't think that before the draft. And I also don't think he's going to have a very good game in this one. I just think that they match up pretty well against the Falcons' reeling offense.
Yeah, but Lawrence kind of has a nice matchup with the Atlanta secondary. He's not playing good at all right now either. So
right. The defense was actually decent last week against the Patriots. I mean, they're constantly getting put back on the field.
Right. But I still don't think they're a good unit whatsoever.
No, they're not good. They're not talented, but they're playing, I think, better than. I mean, Mac Jones was 22 of 26. I guess that's pretty good. He did throw a pick, so there's that. AJ Terrell's playing really good in that secondary for Atlanta. So that part, that one spot is great. Mac Jones does that to everybody, though, by the way. He's completing like 80% of his passes just almost, or he's done it the last 2 weeks, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the Jags just lost Jamal Agnew for the season.
Yeah, it's tough. He was like their only guy.
So Marvin Jones and Shenault are going to have to step up here.
Isn't Shenault out?
No, they've just both been struggling. Oh. James Robinson needs to get going here. I think he might have a good performance, especially out of the backfield.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's good.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I like the Jaguars in this one to get their 3rd win of the season. I think Trevor Lawrence has an easier time out there this week against the Falcons. Kind of gives them more of a chance to win the game at certain times. James Robinson could get going. They just need to get offense moving down the field efficiently and consistently. That is their only problem. Maybe not their only problem,
right?
But
you're right. The defense has been okay.
Yeah,
so they have been all right.
Trevor Lawrence just needs to play better, and I think he has a bright spot to do that this week. So I'm going the Jaguars in this one. 21-17.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be something similar. I don't know. I think it's gonna be low scoring probably. I think it's 20-13 or something. I just don't trust the Falcons to score any points. I mean, I don't think we can at this point. So
who's even on their team anymore? Kyle Pitts and Matt Ryan?
Yeah, that's basically it. I don't know, is Cordero back this week?
Yeah, I think he is. So I get Cordero back. So
yeah. Jacksonville's been hard to run against, though. They've been actually pretty good in that way. I mean, really all year long they've been tough to run on. Even San Francisco couldn't really do it very well last week. So
yeah.
Anyways, let's move on. Oh, what did I say? 2017, I think.
Yeah,
2013.
We both like the upset in the Jags this week.
Yeah. All right, so where are we at? Chargers, Broncos. That's going to be an interesting. Broncos coming off a bye. Chargers 2.5-point favorites, over under 48 in this game. Chargers seem, to me, after last week, to be back to life, especially with their offense. But I will say this Broncos defense is better than what they've been portraying lately. And, coming off the bye week, I think that they could make things difficult for the Chargers offense, even though, Herbert was struggling a little bit before last week. And then he was, other than the Philadelphia game. But last week, to me, it felt like, he even made basically the game-winning plays, right, down the stretch there, so he was clutch. It showed a little bit of everything. He's really good in prime time, is what I noticed about Herbert. He's, you put him in high pressure moments, and he generally plays better. So that's super encouraging for a Chargers fan. But again, the Broncos are a team that their defense to me is better than what.
Yeah, their defense is pretty good. I mean, they give up the 6th fewest fantasy points to the RB position and the 4th fewest fantasy points to the QB position.
Yeah.
So they've got a great defense. This is gonna be a close one. Obviously, the Chargers are only one game above 500, maybe 2.
I think
they had some losses there as of late. So you never really know. Justin Herbert's thrown for 400 yards and then come back and had a shitty game. So it could potentially happen here again on the road. And it's predicting on how Herbert plays because, obviously they got to get Austin Eckler involved like they did last week. The guy went bonkers, had 4 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, him and Herbert went crazy.
It's just going to be, tougher sledding this week against that Denver's defense.
Yeah, and I think that the important thing here is if you don't score, just don't turn it over if you're the Chargers. Like, make it that kind of game because Teddy Bridgewater, for the most part, has not been turning the ball over this year. He's just got 1 interception over his last 4 games, and 3 straight games without any. So I think that the Charger defense, this could be a get-right spot for them. I actually like them as a fantasy streaming option, just for a defense. And but I wouldn't bet on this game. It scares me just from the standpoint that coming off a bye, I feel like the Broncos could have a game just like the Raiders had last night. I think they're capable of that kind of a game, especially being in Denver. And the over/under this one's 48. Do you think that's high or low?
I think it's about average. I mean, they're going to score.
You think how many points can the Teddy score?
Well, how many points can Gordon and Javonte Williams score? Because
yeah, it's true. It's a good matchup for them.
It's a great matchup for them.
Yeah.
So I think they can score over 20 in this one.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then Herbert scores.
Because if they get the run game going, damn well, Teddy Two Gloves is going to get going.
Right, it's true. Or he's at least not going to throw a pick.
Right.
And he's going to complete 70% of his passes.
Yeah, he's going to move. He's going to, dink and dunk his way down the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the Chargers are, dreadful against the run. So.
Yeah. The Broncos have the Broncos actually won 2 of 3? That's kind of deceiving. I didn't think they were, before that they lost 4 straight, so it's been weird. But yeah, I'm going to take the Chargers. I think ultimately it's a game I wouldn't bet on, but I'll take the Chargers to win 27-20 Chargers. I think that's the appropriate score. And that would be the under, and that would be a Chargers cover as well.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers in this one as well. I feel like they're just obviously a better team all around.
Yeah.
Especially with
I think so too. And
Herbert.
I think their run defense is getting better. I think even though it's not been, great, I think it is improving a little bit. Last week Najee Harris didn't do much, but that was a lot of because of game flow as well. But
I'm gonna take the Chargers 34-28.
Okay, so you'd like it to be a pretty high scoring game.
Yeah. The ball's gonna be flying in Mile High.
Yeah. Okay, so next game is the Rams coming off their 2-game skid in a bye week.
Is this game of the week?
This could be game of the week. I kind of like that Colts Bucks game, but this one's up there. But check this out. This is interesting to me, and just in just sport from a sports betting standpoint, right? So the Rams at the Packers, right? Packers lost last week, 31-34 in Minnesota. The Rams are 1-point underdog. 1-point favorites in Green Bay. 1-point favorites. The over-under.
In Green Bay.
Yes. The over-under, at least according to my bookie, which I don't even know why I mentioned them. I don't like them. But they're easiest to just whatever. Over-under in this one is 47. Remember what I just said. Chargers, Broncos, over-under is 48.
Wow.
It's kind of bonkers that this one is actually less than that, especially after the Packers were involved in a game that totaled 65 points last week.
Yeah.
Yes, the Packers defense has been good. I get all that. But if you're Vegas and you have the Rams as slight favorites in this one on the road, and you also have the combined point total being less than what you have the Chargers Broncos, that to me is weird, and so that means you think the Packers are going to lose 2 straight, which they're fighting for that number 1 seed in the NFC. I don't know, man. I think that I understand Sean McVay coming off a bye week, and he's probably pretty damn good coming off bye weeks, all that kind of stuff. I get it, but sometimes, and I say this a lot with fantasy, like sometimes a certain player is trying, or a certain team, in this case, is trying to tell you who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what the Rams have been doing lately, because they've gotten their ass beat the last 2 times they've came out on the field. 16-28 to the Titans, and that was
Matt
in
Stafford hasn't
LA.
been playing well.
No,
in those 2 games.
No, he hasn't. 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, combined in those 2 games. So
rough.
He hasn't played well. He's been sacked 7 times, right, in 89 pass attempts. But ultimately, I mean, I just think that this is a tough matchup for the Rams. I definitely would not. I would have bet anything that they were not the favorites in this game. That to me is a little bit bonkers. I think that the Packers, coming off of a loss last week, will be desperate, and I think they'll come out motivated. I think maybe. Do you think Vegas is mainly saying this because of Aaron Rodgers' toe, which was so funny that he put his toe on the camera? And
yeah, that was hilarious.
He's in a quirky mood lately, I guess.
I mean, he's just like, he's at that point in his career. He's just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. That's true.
That's probably his last year in Green Bay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's just having fun with it. It seems like, he just got married. He's about to have a kid. And, he's
just like, whatever.
Yeah, he's probably made an ass ton of money that he's just like, it is what it is. He knows he's at the back end of his career, but I mean, I love Aaron Rodgers. I used to hate him, but you got to respect the dude.
The Rams have been playing well against the run lately, and I think that might be something that has the attention of Vegas, I guess, because
Aaron Jones might be back on this one. He's a game time call.
Yeah, I think he'll play, but I think he'll be limited. That's my gut instinct. For some reason, I think that. But I thought that about Clyde last week, and he was not really limited.
Yeah. I mean, if he is limited, what do you think? You think A.J. Dillon gets going, or?
Yeah. I mean, I just think the Packers are a tough run game to stop, and I think that, I think that last week they didn't really stick with they didn't really have to be fair. They were just, every time Rodgers threw it, it was like, it was working out. Let's just say that.
I mean, this toe injury, it seems like it's kicking his ass.
Yeah, but he threw for almost 404 touchdowns last week, scored 31 points. It was like,
get a shot of ivermectin before the game. And
just go out there and say, hey, it doubles as a pain med, and I'm not here balling.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But, yeah, man, I mean, honestly, this game is tough to call. I would say I give a slight edge to the Packers. I understand, why Vegas doesn't want to have I would, if the Rams were underdogs in this game, I would like that as a bet, them being 1-point favorites to me is
what do you think?
Weird.
What do you think Odell does in this one? Not much.
I think, if you're the Rams, if you're the Packers, do you cover him with Jair Alexander, or do you use Jair on Cooper Kupp?
Well, I think you use But I mean,
so
if
this
Jair was on
game.
Odell, he'd shut his ass down.
Yeah, he would. Jair's a beast.
Yeah,
dude.
he is. Odell's a risky play in fantasy this week, but yeah,
it's weird because the Rams are good defensively.
Yeah,
they're actually against the run, against the pass. I mean, they're top 10 in yards per carry allowed, the top 10 in yards per pass attempt allowed. But it's the offense that's the question mark, and I could just see Stafford going into Green Bay. I wish I had his numbers.
What's
in Green
the
Bay.
weather like this week in Green Bay?
I just feel like he's going to go in there and do what he always does against. I'm taking the Packers, man. I'm taking the Packers to win 30-24. I like the Pack, man.
Yeah, man. 30-24 Packers? Okay.
I think Stafford has a disappointing game. 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, something like that. That's the over, though, by the way. I'm finally taking it over. And, of course, that'd be the Packers more than covering, outright winning.
I'm going to say, what'd you say, 30 what?
30-24, Green Bay.
I'm going to go Green Bay. I'm going to take the Packers while at home.
Wow.
34-28.
Wow. Okay. So you always like more points than I do, but I feel like a lot of times that's the right answer.
I mean, if Aaron Rodgers and them get going, Stafford's gonna have to get going, and odds are that he will, especially after coming off 2 games where he's thrown 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions and played terrible. He's got to play well in this one for them to win this game on the road in Green Bay. So I think there's going to be a lot of scoring involved in this one, but I think the Packers come out on top.
Yeah, I think I think so as well. I think the Packers win this game. Like I said, 30-24. Ooh, this next one is one of my favorites, too. This could be game of the week as kind of a low-key, you wouldn't expect it, but it kind of could be at the same time. The Vikings visiting the 49ers. Both teams, I believe, 5-5, fighting for that wild card spot. The Vikings are 3-point underdogs in San Francisco this week, and the over/under.
So basically a coin
points.
flip.
Yeah. I mean, if you're getting even money if you pick Minnesota to win, they're the plus 100, so it's even money. On that, San Francisco is the slight favorite at home. Basically, just the home team. 3 points or whatever. It's just not. It's interesting how they do that with a line there. Anyways, 49-point over/under. That to me seems a little bit high, but I think I'm always saying that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I always think that over/unders are too high. But I just feel like both of these teams are going to run the ball. But these are 2 teams you don't have to worry about in terms of like committing to running the football, right? Like they're both going to do that, And I mean, you saw the Niners last week. They were like averaging under 3 yards a carry for most of the day.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have anybody.
They just kept plugging away.
I mean, if Eli Mitchell's out again, they have Jeff Wilson. He's not,
Trey Sermon,
polarizing
baby. Did you see that catch Trey Sermon made last week? He made a nice over-the-shoulder catch on the sideline.
Your boy Trey?
Yeah, man.
I don't know. Do they like Jeff Wilson more than they like Trey Sermon right now? Because
hey, here's a quote from Kyle Shanahan. I don't know when this was, a couple days ago or yesterday actually. Was it yesterday? He said Trey, talking about Trey Sermon, had an opportunity earlier this season when guys got hurt, and I thought he got better in each game with that, but he didn't do enough for us to put him ahead of guys like Elijah or Jeff. So
no, the answer is no.
Yeah.
They don't like.
Or is that classic like Bill Belichick where it's just like, no, don't worry about Trey Sermon at all, and he gives him like 45 carries.
He could. Very well
That would be awesome. But I think that at least there was the Sermon made the play with the over-the-shoulder catch, which I thought was encouraging just because we haven't seen a ton from him in the receiving, game this year. I mean, he didn't even have a catch in that Week 4 game against Seattle where he saw 19 targets. 19 carries, 19 targets. He's not Najee Harris. And he has, I don't know if he's been targeted since then, and except for, of course, that one that he caught last week against the Jags. But he did, in a game flow advantageous game last week against Jacksonville where they were really in complete control the whole way, he saw 11 touches. So 11 touches, 55 yards. Maybe if you have a roster spot, I'm actually going to go do it in my sleeper league right now because I do have a roster. I still haven't dropped Robert Woods. I've been busy. But if you have a roster spot, right, maybe you should pick up Trey Sermon because what if it is that game? Like if you're not really knowing which defense you're going to start and you see a couple of defenses that you would consider starting on waiver still, go pick up Trey Sermon, drop a defense, see what happens. Oh, fuck, that's the late afternoon game. That's tough. Anyways, if you see kickers, whatever, see somebody available, I think picking him up and waiting to see what plays out in that game is interesting because I think he's one big game away. Like, what if he pops a 70-yard run or something, or like a 40-yard touchdown run, and then they're like, maybe we should go back to that a little bit. I think that's possible. But anyways, who do you like in this one? Do you like the Vikings or you like the Niners?
I like the Niners.
Wow.
I think they. They're 1-4 at home.
So they're due.
Yeah, they are, and they beat the brakes off the Rams last week. So. Coming off, and that one was at home as well, right? So coming off the win at home against the really good.
That was they played the Jaguars in Jacksonville last week, and the week before that they beat the Rams.
Oh, okay, that was 2 weeks ago.
San Fran. They beat
So, but yeah, I like them to get their second win at home. I think it's going to be a close one, super close one, a 1-point game. I'm going Niners 24, Vikings 23.
Okay. I respect that. I feel like two things, right? Number one, I feel like the Vikings are just a slightly more complete team. I think the Niners have a little bit of a better defense, but I think the Vikings have a considerably better quarterback. But I also think this is a classic Vikings letdown spot. I thought I was going to take the Vikings the whole way.
Yeah, I mean, they beat the Packers last week, which I thought was shocking. I thought the Packers were going to win that game. I knew it was going to be close, but I thought the Packers were going to win. So, and I mean, if I legitimately thought the Vikings were better than the Packers, well, then I would actually obviously think they're better than the Niners, but I just don't. So
yeah, I mean, look,
and they could be.
Here's the biggest issue for the Vikings, in my opinion. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, in this matchup on the road, I think the 49ers have the edge.
Yeah, so the big issue, I think, for Minnesota is this. You can't defend the run. You're the 31st ranked run defense from a yards per carry allowed standpoint over the last 3 weeks. You're allowing over 5 yards a carry, so it's not gotten much better, right? You're playing Kyle Shanahan. He just showed you last week that when he couldn't run it effectively, he still ran it 30-plus times with his running backs. So to me, I think that they're going to see a whole bunch of the run game, and I think that the Niners, I think it's going to look a little bit like their playoff game a couple of years ago did in San Fran, where
they're going to get Debo some carries again in this one as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't defend the run, you can't defend Debo Samuel running the ball. So I'm going to take the Niners to win a close game, 27-21.
Wow,
San Fran,
so we both like the Niners.
Yeah,
in San Fran or Santa Clara, I should say.
Yeah. And I'm sitting at the under, and I think you are too. Yeah, we're both at the under. You like the Vikings to cover. I like the Niners to cover.
Sunday night, Browns at Ravens.
Ooh, wow.
So here's the thing in this one.
Okay,
Lamar Jackson's back.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb's back.
Thank God.
And Kareem Hunt is back.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Well, they're saying he's trending up.
Right.
Bodes well for the Browns, obviously. If they can, it'd be huge if they get Kareem Hunt back. Baker's not been playing well, so if they can heavily rely on the run game and then obviously screen passes with Kareem, because, I have him in fantasy, so I need him to have at least 3 touchdowns this week if I do start him.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, I know, right? But Lamar, like I said, Lamar is back in this one after being out sick with a non-COVID related issue last week. I don't know what he had, but my God, for him to sit out. I think
there's some other kind of like cold going around that's pretty. Remember, I had it a few weeks ago, and it wasn't COVID either. But yeah, for Lamar to get that messed up by it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Chubb for the Browns, Chubb has got to get going in this one. Against the Baltimore front. He's third in the NFL in rushing, and the Browns are number 1 in team category after Baltimore led the league in the past 2 seasons. So,
Jesus.
Baker Mayfield's playing with shoulder. What's he got? Shoulder.
He's got a bunch of shit. It's like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, I think.
Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah. Baker the last 2 weeks has been god-awful, dude.
Yes, he has.
He's averaging just under 125 yards a game through the air, 54.5 passer rating. That's a pretty friendly stat sheet, usually, the passer rating one. And basically exactly 5 yards per pass attempt. He's been awful. He hasn't thrown for more than 225 yards in the last 4 games. So he needs, and by the way, all that said, Baker Mayfield is still, I think, top 5 in the NFL in terms of yards per pass attempt. So for everybody that's saying the run game doesn't affect the pass game, Baker hasn't been good this year, and he's still completing a very high percentage. He's getting a lot of yards per pass attempt relative to the other starters in the league. So I think, that is interesting. I think also Jedrick Wills, did I see that right? He's coming back. That's a big bonus for them. I might be making that up, but the point is, both the running backs should be back. Chubb should be a week healthier, and I think that is going to make a huge difference for Cleveland. But the Baltimore Ravens, to me, are looking at this game with the opportunity to take over the 1 seed in the AFC, because if they think like Vegas and like we think that the Patriots are going to beat the Titans this week, if the Ravens win, I believe that makes them the 1 seed. So then it's all about just retaining that. And then also they need to win to be able to hold on to the top of their division. So it's a weird thing. It's a dynamic that maybe the Ravens, if they win this game, could have the number 1 seed in the AFC and, of course, their division. But if they lose, they might be in jeopardy of losing that number 1 seed and also losing their divisional lead. You know what I mean? So it's a weird dynamic. But, like, I think that it's all going to come down to how competent will Baker Mayfield be, and I think a lot of it's in his head. I think, him leaving the game without talking to the media, or leaving the stadium without talking to the media last week in a win was a weird thing to do. And I think it just shows like he was getting booed, and, it's like he's pressing a little bit.
Did you see what he said about those guys? They asked him about the fans that were booing him. He said, yeah, those are probably the same fans that won't shut up when we're on offense.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a firecracker, that Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, he is.
That's why I loved him coming out of the draft, though.
Yeah.
He's just a guy that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times this year he's had 1 touchdown or 0 touchdowns. Like passing, and that's just
not good.
It's not that it's not good because they run the ball so well, but
he could complement the running.
Yeah, like last year he had 26 touchdown passes. This year he's on pace for like, let's
20?
see. Yeah, not even. He's on pace for 17 or something like that. So it's like he's not having nearly as good of a season as he was last year. And the thing about it is, though, I think that the Odell Beckham, in my opinion, was a big part of the issue for Baker. But then here became the problem. Odell's dad posts that stuff on Instagram, and then Odell leaves, right? He gets released and he leaves. Mm-hmm. So then Baker is supposed to go out there and show why Odell was the problem. And he's kind of just been fumbling that opportunity. Like he's been, so I think it's been actually a similar effect of Odell being the problem without Odell being there. It's the Odell trickle-down effect, or the Odell after effect, I guess you could say. And it's not anything against Odell. I just think that's just kind of, Odell is a polarizing dude. And I think Baker wanted to show so bad that he's, that he can play, and now watch this. And it just didn't, when you're like that in the NFL, it's a very, very small margin of error. One game you throw for 120 yards and 3 picks. The next game you can throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns. Look at Derek Carr. He had 3 games that were just awful, and then he went crazy yesterday in Dallas against a very good defense. So like, it's a very small margin of error in the NFL that's the difference between a 350-yard day. Ask Mike White, the Jets quarterback. He had 400-plus yards, and he's talking about being the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And then the next week he throws 4 picks against the Bills and was awful.
Not a good look.
It's not that big of a difference between a legit franchise quarterback and a second-string quarterback. It's just so anybody can look like either or at any given time. But anyway, so I like the Ravens, man. I just trust them a little bit more right now. I think they win it 24-20, Baltimore.
I'm taking Baltimore. I'm 31-17 in this one.
Yeah.
I think Lamar Jackson comes back ready to freaking fire out. Marquise Brown's back this week, or he's returned to practice this week. So, if he plays borderline wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2,
like he has been,
in a plus matchup against the Browns. But yeah, I like the Ravens all day in this one.
You're right on brand, being that you picked it to be 31-17, which is the over by a point. I picked it to be 24-20, which is the under by 3 points. So you'll probably be right on the over. We'll both be right in that Baltimore wins this game. I think. Look, I could see it being a little bit higher scoring. I'm just thinking about the last year. I think it was last year, the primetime game where Lamar Jackson had to go drop a deuce and come back and all that. It could be a higher scoring game because but I think that was a different Baker Mayfield at that time. That was a guy that was he was playing incredibly well. Who knows what we're going to get this Sunday, but it's on Sunday night, so Baker's got an opportunity to shut up a lot of people if he can go out there and get a huge division win. I'm rooting for the Browns just because I like Baker. I want to see Cleveland fans rejoice. I really do.
Yeah.
But I just don't see you beating Baltimore this week. I think they're too just reliable.
Yeah.
To lose this game.
I mean, in Baltimore?
Yeah, in Baltimore, especially on prime time. So
Yep.
we both like the Ravens. Let's talk about the Monday night, and let's get out of here. Seattle going to Washington. This game is a pick'em. Monday Night Football. How about that? An absolute clunker. I just got the vision of that meme. It's like somebody holding somebody's eyes open, making them watch it for this game. You can see that being a little bit of the case. Like Washington, Tyler Heineke's a fun, good little player to watch, but Seattle's offense has been like watching paint dry in the last month plus of the season. And so the over-under, by the way, is 46.5. And right on brand, I'm going to say that feels high. And the reason I think that one feels high is because how can you trust Seattle to score any freaking points?
You can't.
I mean,
you absolutely
Jesus,
cannot.
They've looked horrible. And offensively, they just have looked terrible. And then when you look at, talk about what defenses are doing lately, right? The Washington football team is quietly only allowing 19 points a game over their last 3, which is good for 1, 2, 3.
I mean, they played, Arizona last week? And
no, they played the Panthers last week.
Seahawks?
Oh no. Yeah, Seahawks played Arizona. My bad.
Yeah. Russell was 14 of 26 for 207 yards and was sacked 4 times in that one.
It's not going to do it. Yeah.
And if Washington, obviously they have Chase Young's out for the season, but if they can get after...
They still have guys up there.
Yeah. If they can get after Russell Wilson, it's going to be another ugly one.
Yeah.
Especially on the road.
And I think that they can get after Russell Wilson to an extent. I mean, I really think that what they have this year that maybe they didn't have last year, and why it kind of evens out, and why I think they'll still be a really good defense, this year, is because they didn't start off very good at all, but they've been trending up quietly, and now it's not so quiet because only allowing 19 points a game, even though it's just a 3-game sample size, is pretty good. But they have better coverage, in my opinion, this year than they had last year. So, while they may be lacking, in terms of the same kind of pass rush with the guys they have out, they still have they have better coverage. So I think it kind of evens out, to a degree this year. But I think it all changed for them defensively. Actually, 4 games ago at Green Bay, where they only gave up 24. I was looking at their fantasy points. They only gave up 24 to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and then it was 17 the next week to the Broncos, 19 to Tom freaking Brady, who leads the league in scoring and touchdown passes right now, and then 21 last year to Cam in his return. So they've been much better, and that the defense last week closed out the game in Carolina with 2 fourth-down stops. So it was just like they finished strong, and the pass rush got its lone sack on the last play of the game, against Cam. So it was a nice game in that regard. They forced 2 3-and-outs in addition to that. So they were pretty good defensively last week. And I don't know how you could pick anybody but Washington. And, dude, the thing about it is, talk about being on brand. Ron Rivera starting, 2-7 or whatever, and now being 4-7 and kind of having life as a wild card team. It's not a lot of life, but it's life. Or he's 4-6. I'm sorry, so he was 2-6, now 4-6. That's a big difference because if they win this one, they're 5-6, and they really are alive and well in that NFC wild card race. And there's a few teams jockeying for that, but they have the tiebreaker win over the Panthers now. We'll see how it all plays out when they play the Eagles, or when they play the rest of the teams that they're going to play in conference and all that stuff. But I think that last week is the first time I've ever really seen the Seahawks look defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And even after the game, Pete Carroll kind of looked defeated. So it was a weird dynamic going on there. I think that we could be looking at maybe you think they let Russell Wilson out of there after this year?
Change of scenery could happen.
But, I don't think they're going to want that. I think Russell might want it. But here's another question.
Something's got to give.
Is Russell Wilson elite still?
Well, yeah, I still think he's
yeah,
got some
I
juice.
still probably think that too. But, I I don't know, man. It's been weird. I mean, he
been a
started
tough
off he started off the year red hot, completed
Yeah.
well over 70% in the first 2 games and 6 touchdowns, no picks.
Then he got hurt.
Yeah, so maybe it's just that he's not healthy, I guess.
Um,
But yeah, I think I'm taking Washington. I like him to win this game. I don't know, 27-20?
Yeah, a big positive for the football team is Logan Thomas is back in this one.
That's right.
So if Taylor Heineke can play well, and Antonio Gibson, if he can play well, I mean, he had 95 yards, last week after being benched there for a little bit for fumbling early in that game. So I think the football team gets a win here at home. I'm gonna take the football team 28-21.
Okay, so we both actually like the over. I kind of want to change mine to 24-20, but I guess whatever. The point is,
we're both taking the football team to win this game.
Both like Washington to win. I think that, the interesting part about this is the Seattle defense run defense at least has quietly been good, just allowing over the last 3 weeks, allowing 3.4 yards per carry. So if they can put the clamps on Gibson, make them one-dimensional, they can win that game. But right now, I just haven't seen enough from their offense to even to. I mean, the Washington football team's hot, so I'll take Washington. I'll stick with it. 27-20.
It's like Washington.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's gonna do it for this pod.
That wraps it up here. A lot of good games this week. The Bucks, Colts, Rams, Packers are two of my favorites. So, obviously, yesterday was a good day. Thanksgiving had some good food. Did you get your?
Oh, absolutely. I destroyed. I went crazy. I ate a bunch of shit that I don't normally eat, like pie and cookies, and
it was great.
I did not hold back. So it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah. How much did you eat? A pound of turkey?
Oh, I ate.
Wait, are you turkey or a ham guy?
Oh, turkey.
Okay, good.
We didn't even make ham.
Oh, perfect. I usually just get Texas barbecue on Thanksgiving. That's Texas tradition for the Leahy family.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, we're not much of cooks in the house, so we just go order.
Oh, you don't even cook it?
No, we just order it out.
That's awesome. You're like, why would we do that?
Yeah, when we can have someone else cook it and it's bomb. So, but yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell, comment below what your favorite matchup this week is. Also, your start-sit questions before Sunday, and we'll get your team ready to rock. Week 12, I mean, there's 2 weeks left after this one in fantasy before the playoffs start. So things are coming down the wire. If these are must-win games here at the end of the fantasy season. Yeah. But we'll wrap it up here. We will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.